Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we will be talking about my election prediction between Tim Walz, the possibly the next Vice President of the United States. He's the Democratic nominee for VP in 2024, of course, running alongside Kamala Harris, versus Vivek Ramaswamy, a potential Republican nominee in the future. Now, this is not 2024. This is not a 2024 election prediction. No, this is a 2028 election prediction. Now, I know I have Harris winning, right? I have Harris winning, 303 electoral votes, I think, right now, to Trump's 232, something like that. I have her winning. I actually have her matching Joe Biden's 2020 map, so I have her winning this election. Now, I know it probably wouldn't make sense if Harris steps down. She probably will run for another term in 2028. We'll see if she's elected then or not. But just for the purpose of this video, I do want to talk about this election matchup. And yeah, I doubt, at least in 2028, maybe 2032, 36, I could see Vivek be the Republican nominee. I don't know about 2028. But still, for the purpose of this video, just to contrast, what Republicans could look like in the future, this is my election prediction. Tim Walz versus Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, this comes after, I'm just making this video because of this video that got kind of a lot of attention on Twitter. From On Point Politics, that shows that they apparently think that Democrats are never going to win the presidency again, and that Vivek Ramaswamy, that J.D. Vance will be elected after Trump, and then Vivek Ramaswamy after that. Now, this is a joke of a channel, right? This is an unserious channel, so, I mean, in their view, they're not, but they are, when it comes to their election predictions and all that. So don't, take this with any value, but this is just to show that this makes literally zero sense, Vivek being elected president. He's just about the weakest possible presidential candidate, you could possibly get. So with that being said, let's look at some favorabilities. This is right now, September 1st, or September 2nd, but whatever. Tim Walz is approved of by 5%. His favorability is +5 over unfavorable. And Vivek Ramaswamy, not many polls since he is kind of irrelevant right now, but he's at 12% more favorable than he is unfavorable. So, don't be confused. Tim Walz is over water. Vivek Ramaswamy is underwater. So, Tim Walz is 16, 17 points more favorable than is Vivek. So, let's get into this election prediction. We'll start with our safe Democratic states, 15% margin or more for Tim Walz. Hawaii, California, Oregon, Washington, New York, Minnesota becomes safe because it is his home state and he is extremely popular. Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine's 1st District, Maine at large is safe. New Jersey safe, Delaware, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. Illinois is safe as well, and then Colorado, and New Mexico is right on the verge, but I wouldn't put it quite there yet. So, that gives, and yeah, I would put Virginia as well. I mean, Tim Walz isn't going to be especially strong in a state like Virginia because, urban votes, well-educated urban votes. Tim Walz is going to make inroads in the white working class voters that went to Trump in 2016. From Obama, that is, Tim Walz's path to victory. He will win those voters back. He has a strong appeal. He's from Minnesota. He's very pro-labor. I mean, of course, the Minnesota Democratic Party is the DFL, the Farmer Labor Party. But Virginia still, Vivek Ramaswamy is such a weak candidate that it absolutely trends 5 points to the right from 2020 to 2028. And you'll notice, let's just look at some past elections, if I can do it here. I don't know why it's not letting me compare. But usually it lets me compare between two elections. But you can just see, a state like Texas went from 15 points Republican to 5 points Republican, trending heavily towards the right. Similar case in Georgia. So a lot of these states, especially across the Sun Belt, are trending heavily towards the Democrats. And the one place that Republicans made gains in these past years with Trump, was the white working class vote. I think that Vivek Ramaswamy will absolutely lose them. I mean, he's just so extreme of a candidate, and that Tim Walz will absolutely take them back. And I would actually put one more state, or maybe a couple more, but as of right now, one more state into Tim Walz's column, that being the state of Pennsylvania. Now, this might be a hot take considering that states like New Mexico, more Democratic states, New Hampshire, aren't safe, but Pennsylvania, you've got the suburban vote around Philadelphia. Suburban moms obviously going to back away heavily from Vivek Ramaswamy, way too extreme for them. And then, especially on the western part of the state, you've got the white working class voters that Tim Walz will be taking back. So Pennsylvania, I'm going to put in the safe column for Tim Walz. Now, next up, we will have our safe Republican states. So there's not many, but you've got Wyoming, Idaho, North Dakota, South Dakota. You've got Nebraska at large, Nebraska's 3rd district, not the 1st district. Then you've got Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi, Alabama, and West Virginia. So these are the most Republican of the Republican states. And look at where Vivek Ramaswamy is. He's at 75 electoral votes after his safe states. Tim Walz at a colossal 235. You only need 270 to win. So Tim Walz is actually almost there. So now let's get into likely states. These are states that will be decided by a 5 to 15% margin, in my opinion. So, of course, you've got so close to being safe. You've got states like New Mexico, New Hampshire that are pretty Democratic. I just don't think they'd be quite there. I think that there's a strong Republican base and a strong Democratic base. It's not unpartisan, the voters are too partisan, really, to have such a trend. And then, obviously, Nebraska's, I would put Nebraska second, actually, in the safe column. I don't think that would be controversial at all. A 10-point swing with Tim Walz. And then, there's a lot more. So, I don't think that but anyway, let's just get going. I think that Michigan, obviously, is almost safe. Wisconsin is almost safe. He's taking these states back easily, and he's already at 270. I mean, when Biden won them in 2020, but again, Trump had an insane appeal. When you look at Mitt Romney's performance, it wasn't even close. And Vivek Ramaswamy, much more extreme than Mitt Romney. So, look, you've got the white working class voters from 2012 who voted for Obama in the Rust Belt, gave him huge margins in the Rust Belt. You've got those voters now going to Tim Walz, the Democrat. But on top of that, Mitt Romney did notoriously well with suburban women. But now, even the suburbs are going away from Vivek Ramaswamy and the Republicans, turning away fully from the Republicans. That's what I'm trying to say. So with those two things, you've got colossal margins for Tim Walz across these states. Then, you got Nevada, almost a safe state, went to Biden by 2.4. You've got Georgia. I mean, these split states, these states where it's very close, I don't think it's going to be a huge margin because Tim Walz doesn't really have any appeal among African Americans, so turnout among them is probably low. But still, I mean, these suburban voters around Atlanta, the margins will just be colossal for Tim Walz, and many Republicans, really, would turn to Tim Walz as well. Let's move on now. Arizona, another very split state, but Biden won it in 2020. Any state that Biden won in 2020 is going to Tim Walz by at least 5 points, by at least a likely margin. I mean, that's just for certain, right? Just by logic, Vivek Ramaswamy is such a weak candidate. Tim Walz such a strong candidate by every single metric. You've, again, North Carolina, very split, 50-50, went to Trump by 1.3. So, of course, Tim Walz is going to win by more than 5. And that is probably it for now. Yeah, that is it for now. So, Tim Walz already over 311 electoral votes. And then you've got Vivek Ramaswamy, his likely states. Indiana, he probably stays above 5%. Missouri, these are very Republican states. Kansas, he hangs on. Montana and Utah. In Nebraska's 1st district, no surprises there. Now let's move on to lean states. These are states that will be decided by 1 to 5% margin. So absolutely. Oh, I actually forgot a likely state. That's Maine's 2nd district. Trump notoriously did insanely well in the 2nd district. Obama won it by 8.6 in 2012. 4 years later, Trump won it by 8. Or 10. Oh my God. So that's an 18-point trend to the right. You never see anything like that. So these are very independent voters. They're willing to swing back and forth. So that proves they are obviously going to be very willing to swing to Tim Walz despite voting for Trump in the past few elections. So now we move on to lean states, and we will start with Ohio. This is Vivek Ramaswamy's home state, so just a devastating loss there. Trump has made it so much more Republican in the past, and that's why it's not a likely state. He has made it so much of a partisan Republican state. But still, what appeal does Vivek Ramaswamy have to these white working class voters? What appeal does he have? That is what I'm trying to figure out. Maybe a strong appeal to crypto Twitter bros in Florida, or North Carolina, but in Ohio, rural Iowa, these rural voters are going to return to the Democratic Party. That's why I also think that Tim Walz pretty easily wins Iowa. I think that he pretty easily wins Alaska by a lean margin. Texas is trending heavily towards the left, so by 2028, regardless of the candidates, I could see Texas going blue. But that one I definitely think goes blue. Tim Walz probably wins Florida by a point or so, but this one is trending heavily towards the Republicans, actually. So that could get interesting, but still, Vivek's just such a weak candidate. And then South Carolina is lean Republican, just because of how partisan it is. So, just an absolute electoral landslide. Tim Walz wins 416 electoral votes. Vivek Ramaswamy wins 122. It's not even close at all. So, thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe down below. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers before Election Day. So, if you could help me out with that, that would be great. Again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all later.